This is Chris Keller with the third post in our Restore the Pelvic Floor series, looking at kind of the logic behind kegling exercises. All right, kegling is kind of the standard advice that we get for pelvic floor dysfunction. Okay, but really what a kegel does is kind of contracts the pelvic floor. So it contracts muscles that are already oftentimes tight and pulled forward, because what it also does is the action of that on the pelvis is physically pulling the pelvis forward. Okay, because we're oftentimes, because we talked about wearing heels and leaning forward a lot, or sitting down and being in this position where there's a big arch in our back, oftentimes these muscles are already very, very tight and gripping already. So we can get weakness from tightness also. Okay, so sometimes just the standard kegling is not necessarily going to work as well as it could if we had a more balanced pelvic position. Okay, and that kind of leads us to the exercise that we're really going to work on in today's post, which is just deep squatting. Okay, because what a deep squat really does is bring us into a posterior weight shift. So when you squat, before you do anything, I want you to just feel yourself kind of shifting forward and back on your feet, because it begins with the feet, and feeling the weight shift back on the heels. Okay, when I squat, I tell people to stick your butt out as if you're sitting down in a chair, because literally, it's like a bad dance, but you want to stick your butt out first versus sticking your knees out first. And one way I can tell whether this is the case with most people is if I ask them to squat and they do this, the knees come forward first, so we know that they're kind of shifting forward this position. So the best exercise that you can do to help to lengthen the pelvic floor, to help to balance things out, and to do in conjunction with your kegels is deep squatting. Okay, and an exercise I like a lot for this particular drill is what's called squat stand. So with the squat stands, I just put my hands around my ankles and sit back into a deep squat. Okay, and for me, I have mobility challenges, so that's tough. And what I want to do is lean forward. And what I can do is either hold on to a chair or a bench or something like that as a counterbalance, and just try to shift my weight back on my heels as much as I can, and just sit back and kind of just rock around this position. What you can also do, just think about starting here, sitting back, feel all your weight shift in your butt or into your heels, and come back up. Another alternative would be to elevate your heels on, I have some pads here, but you can use books or towels or whatever you have available to you, and drop down into a deep squat. And again, this is a lot easier because I've taken my heels out of the equation, but just sitting in this position, feeling your weight shift back, kind of teaches us to shift back and releases the pelvic floor muscles. And that also kind of leads us to working in sitting positions where we kind of find this. If we're oftentimes in this position, what I tell people is just tighten your abs, kind of crunch down a little bit, and then straighten up. Okay, and what that does is helps me to kind of shift my weight back a little bit, making sure that while I'm sitting in this position, my weight is in my heels versus my toes. And again, I come into this nice fat flat back position. So just kind of being aware of this, maybe setting a timer and kind of reshifting yourself out every 20 minutes is, again, going to start to rebalance that, release those pelvic floor muscles, and make your kegling exercises much more effective.